John from RFM Calc, and today, as part of our series looking at popular e-commerce platforms and how they integrate with RFM Calc, we're looking at GoDaddy. So GoDaddy is best known as a domain registrar, but they do now also do a lot of website hosting. The business was originally founded in 1997. Turnover last year was over $4 billion, so obviously a very large company. Certainly in recent years, they've been pushing more and more their website builder and their web hosting capability, and they certainly host a lot of sites worldwide. So this is the landing page for their website builder. You can see all looks very glamorous and nice and easy to use. They have a few different plans: basic, standard, premium, and e-commerce. Very much aimed at the lower end of the market, as you can see in terms of pricing, so a lot cheaper than Shopify. And you can have e-commerce functionality here for £14 a month. It looks like you have to pay yearly. There is a free 7-day plan as well to try it out, which is what we've used to evaluate the system today. And you can see every website builder plan includes a mobile-friendly site, hundreds of beautiful templates, marketing dashboard. One of the interesting things is that you can send emails as well under this plan. So you can see it comes with 25,000 email marketing sends on these top two plans, which in theory negates the need to pay for another email platform as well, which is interesting. So today we're going to have a look at the system, how it works, and also how in particular the e-commerce aspect works and how we can export orders, or if we can, we'll find out, from GoDaddy into RFM Calc. So I've already signed up to the service. The sign up process was relatively straightforward. It asked you a few questions. I did find the wizard crashed quite a few times while I was trying to sign up, going through the various stages and trying to provide the info relevant to an e-commerce store. We did eventually get there, had to try a few times. I don't know if that was just an issue on the day or a common issue when signing up with GoDaddy. So once you've signed up, you then get access to this website builder area. So here you can essentially change the theme, add new pages. You can click in and just change the text within the different areas fairly easily like this. So it looks fairly intuitive in terms of adding different elements, changing the content. It looks fairly straightforward. You can drag and drop, add different sections and so on. So that aspect looks fairly simple. You can then see, if I go to the store preview here, what the site looks like. So obviously you have to upgrade before you can connect to real domain and pay. That's not for free, but you can see on this test domain what the store looks like and give it a test and see how everything fits together. Now, interestingly, the e-commerce functionality doesn't sit within the same interface. You actually have to click here to store and then go to manage store, which will take me to this screen here. So it looks like this was potentially built by a different team. It's kind of bolted onto this original section here, which is interesting. So it looks like possibly this was built and then this was added on later, or vice versa. Perhaps the store management was on this area previously and they then amended it. So if you go to store, you can see an overview, and it's fairly basic from an e-commerce point of view. You've obviously got a little overview of sales. You've got some recent orders there, which I'll come back to. You can add and create products here, which is fairly straightforward. So I've created a few products here. You do have the option to add, for example, product variants fairly easily. So you can see here, you can set a name, SKU, obviously pricing, and then if I go to inventory and options, when you add this, you can add different variants. So you can have a different image per variant, a different SKU, a different price. So it's fairly straightforward in terms of what you can do here, but obviously, relatively basic as you'd expect for an e-commerce platform at this price point. You've also got categories. There's also integrations with marketplaces available as well. So you can start selling on different platforms directly from GoDaddy, which is interesting, and potentially a time saver if you're using this platform. So essentially it's basic, but the core functionality you need to start selling is all there. So if I just go back to preview the store again, you can see I can click into a product here, for example, add to cart fairly easily. Obviously the cart is fairly basic, all the whole thing's fairly basic in terms of how it's structured. And then you go through to the checkout after that, which is obviously shared with all GoDaddy sites, similar to Shopify, where they all have a checkout. I don't think you can customize this from the admin, but you can, I think, change fields. You can add shipping options, different payment options as well. So it's relatively straightforward. There's coupon code functionality too. So although it doesn't look brilliant, it seems to all work. And for the price point, it seems like a reasonable system. So in terms of how we export orders that have been placed into RFM Calc, it's actually relatively straightforward. So if you go to orders here, you can see we've got a list here, and exporting is actually quite straightforward and built in, which is good. And obviously that's the case for most e-commerce platforms, but some don't have a CSV export option. So it's good to see GoDaddy have incorporated this. So all you need to do is just click download, and then you can specify a time frame here. I want to just do since store launched. You can do order summary or order with line item details, which is probably better just to make sure you've got all the fields there for RFM Calc. Even though obviously we'll combine that all into one line per order. And then you just click download. So you'll get this little message and that it takes a while to prepare the file. Even if you've only got 1 or 2 orders, it'll still say you've got a lot of orders, which is interesting. But I put that down really to the fact that it's just on a queue system, which is fair enough. So obviously some sites will have more orders and they just get queued up and then emailed to you. And then once you receive the email has a little link to download the CSV. And then you can just download as normal, and it's all fairly straightforward. So once you've received the email, you'll then be able to download the CSV file, and this is how it looks. So this is just an example file just from the list that I just showed. So you can see it's got essentially all the normal fields. So we've got an order number, got the email address of the customer, date and time. There's quite a few fields in here: subtotal, total, shipping method. You can obviously break down the taxes as well, any discounts, coupon codes used. Interestingly, unless you specify a separate billing address, nothing will be populated in the billing address fields. It's all populated in the shipping address fields. So some e-commerce platforms work like that. Some will populate both if the billing isn't specified as different. So that's something to be aware of with GoDaddy. And then you can see the product items as well as separate lines. So RFM Calc can handle this no problem. As you can see, you've got the same order number here on 2 lines because this particular order had 2 different products, but that's no problem. RFM Calc will combine those for you when we process the order. So it's all the normal stuff essentially, and this is everything we need to generate a report in RFM Calc, which is perfect. So now we've got our file, we can now import it into RFM Calc nice and easily. So I've created a project here called Test GoDaddy. The settings are all pretty standard. So it uses a standard comma for the CSV file delimiter, GoDaddy. The default text interpretation for the date is fine. Obviously, you've got the option to anonymize customer data if you want. That's available on every project. One setting you do need to select is to strip non-ASCII characters from the order file column headings. So for some reason, GoDaddy on the CSV export, it inserts random UTF characters. So this can sometimes happen. Most e-commerce platforms don't do this. Sometimes you'll see it if an Excel file has been saved as a UTF file. Little UTF characters will be added. So it's interesting, GoDaddy does that for some reason on their exports, which is fine for RFM Calc. You just have to make sure you select this option and we'll strip those out of the order file column heading. So this doesn't affect any data within the file. We just need only ASCII characters in the column headings because the column headings are used in multiple areas. So once you've got your basic project settings, you can then just schedule the report here by uploading the CSV file. And then once uploaded, these are the basic column mappings. So you can see you've got the order ID, the order date column, the order value, currency, email address for the customer ID. You can use fulfillment status. You've got various customer fields as well that you can include if you want to, such as email address, the phone, the name. So GoDaddy doesn't have separate first name and last name columns. So in that case, you just use the first name column for both. There's no separate company column, but there is a country and state column, which you can use for location reporting as well. You've got the option for custom columns. Obviously, there's a lot of data available there. So, for example, you could have payment method as a custom column. You don't have to. And essentially, all the other settings are up to you. So, obviously, you can exclude any email addresses from test orders and so on if you wish, but you don't need to. And then essentially, that's it. Fantastic. So that brings this video on GoDaddy's website builder to an end. So as you can see, it's a fairly basic platform, but relatively easy to use. Does have a few little features which are useful, but obviously at a lower price point, and it's aimed at that real entry-level e-commerce market. But the great news is you can view all the orders and export all the orders relatively easily from the GoDaddy admin panel, which is great. And then you can import that CSV file straight into RFM Calc. The only thing to be aware of is just those strange UTF characters in the column headings. So you just need to make sure that you update the settings in RFM Calc to account for that. It will give you a little warning if you don't on the RFM Calc side about those column headings, but if you can just update that first, you'll avoid that. And then you can process the reports, and like any e-commerce platform, you can upload literally thousands or millions of orders. I don't know how many orders GoDaddy can handle, but we can accept up to 5 million orders in an order file on RFM Calc, so you'll be pretty safe, I would imagine, for any GoDaddy store if you want to generate some of the key e-commerce insights for your store. Fantastic. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video.